Thank you so much for being here, because what do we want to do? Put Canada first for a change. Who wants to put Canada first? Who wants a change? And that's what we're all about right now. Now, I just wanted to do some housekeeping at first. A few people have asked, where do we get the Canada First t-shirts? And they're on sale in the back. If somebody wants to wave their hands back there, but if you want to grab some merch, they got it here. Now, also, bathrooms are just over here on my right. And how many of you were watching the rallies that were happening in Kitchener and Surrey? And if you guys were watching the video feed, it was freezing up and glitching. So I got a big favor to ask all of you. Please put your phones in airplane mode. What happened is that there were so many people that were live streaming it that it overran the cell towers. Like when you got thousands and thousands of people that are streaming Pierre online, it overloaded the cell towers. So please put your phones on airplane mode. Feel free to take pictures. Feel free to videotape the whole thing, but please post it later. Now, a lot of people are always asking, what can I do to help Pierre put Canada first? So first thing to do is volunteer, especially right here in Winnipeg. We need all of you as our foot soldiers on the doors, finding the votes, getting that vote out so that we can make every single one of our Conservative candidates a member of Parliament and form the next Conservative government under our Prime Minister, Pierre Poilievre. And secondly, you can go and share all of Pierre's content online, comment on it, leave positive posts. Let's really drive the message of that. Our positive message is for change, to put Canada first. So let's warm up a bit. Poilievre! 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 Bring it home! 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 Okay, I will be back up in just a few moments, so please get ready to see Pierre in action. to introduce our Conservative team. Now, first of all, we have our amazing incumbent candidates, members of Parliament. So, in the newly named riding of Riding Mountain, first elected in 2019, he's a farmer, he's a farm leader, he's a Shadow Minister for Rural Economic Development and Connectivity, Dan Mazur. From Provenche, first elected in 2013. He's a business owner. He's a construction company and knows how to get things built. A man of faith, Ted Falk. In Kildonan, St. Paul, first elected in 2019, the Shadow Minister of Public Safety, leading the charge to put crooks where they belong, behind bars, jail, not bail. The powerhouse of our question period, Raquel Dancho. In the newly named riding of Winnipeg West, first elected in 2019, a businessman, a philanthropist, the first person to question the Bank of Canada if money printing is creating inflation, and a person leading the charge fighting anti-Semitism, Marty Morantz. And our newest member of Parliament from Portage Lisgar, a farm kid, a farm leader as well, worked with the Grain Growers of Canada. Can we give it up for Brandon Leslie? And of course, Brandon replaced our former leader, our friend Candace Burden. And joining Candace, of course, her lovely husband, Michael. And ladies and gentlemen, Stephen Barber, Manitoba's National Councillor. Now, we also have one of our members of Parliament that's not running again. Ladies and gentlemen, for Brandon Souris, Larry McGuire. Now, as all of us just learned in last week, that Larry wasn't able to run again. He has some health concerns, the surgery coming up in the next couple of weeks. So Larry, our hearts and prayers and our thoughts are with you during this time. Now, we are joined with a bunch of great Conservative candidates for taking the fight right here in Winnipeg and across Manitoba. So first of all, let's give it up for the new candidate for Brandon Souris, former MLA for Spruce Woods, Deputy House Leader, and served as critic for education and early childhood learning, Grant Jackson. In Churchill, Kiiwetinoong, Aski, we have a business student who is focusing on resource development and international trade, Lachlan Denardi. By far the tallest candidate that we have this year. In Winnipeg Centre, we have a Transportation Investigative Officer and a Royal Canadian Air Force Reservist in the Cadet Program, Thomas Dabrick. In Winnipeg South Centre, we have a mining engineer and somebody that's worked very much in the insurance industry, Royden Brosseau. In Winnipeg South, former MLA and Provincial Mental Health Minister Janice Morley Lecomte. In St. Boniface, St. Vital, the candidate that works in the Department of Justice, working at high at-risk adults, also a founder and the first president of the Association of Black Conservatives of Manitoba, Shola Agbola. And no stranger to Elmwood Transcona, we have our hard-working electrician and union leader in the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Colin Reynolds. And in Winnipeg North, a lawyer, a Filipino advocate, and a founder of the Filipino Conservative Alliance of Manitoba, and a singer, Rachel Punzelin. And I ask all of you that are sitting to please rise, take off your hats as Rachel sings "O Canada."
Oh, Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love in all of us command. With glowing hearts we see thee rise, our true Lord, strong and free. Home far and wide, oh Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God keep our land glorious and free. Oh Canada, we stand on guard for thee. Oh Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
Welcome, everybody. How's everybody doing? James Bazan forgot to introduce himself. James Bazan is the defense critic and longtime member of Parliament from Selkirk-Interlake. Thank you, James. Wow, this is amazing. All right. All right, everybody, I got a question for you. After this lost Liberal decade, with costs and crime up and our economy down and under America's thumb, do you think the Liberals deserve a fourth term? It's time to put Canada first for a change. With a new Conservative government that will axe taxes, build homes, unleash resources, stop crime, and bring home jobs to stand up to Trump from a position of strength. Absolutely. Common sense Canadians like you know. We need change. And who's the person to deliver that change? Pierre Poilievre! Here to tell you more about the only man that can stop Mark Carney. I have the pleasure of introducing you to Anna Poilievre. Oh, not yet. Anna is an entrepreneur dedicated to advocating against human trafficking and a staunch supporter of women's empowerment. Born in Venezuela and raised in Montreal, Anna moved to Ottawa in 2006, where she met her future husband, Pierre Poilievre, in 2012, and they married in 2017. An active member of the Conservative movement, she is the driving force of the Conservative March and Pierre's #1 supporter. In 2024, she launched Their Stories Matter, an online platform dedicated to giving a voice to survivors of human trafficking. Anna is committed to supporting women and elevating them through her online magazine, Pretty and Smart Co., and Lead Her Forward initiative, which she seeks to pay it forward by inspiring, connecting, and elevating women. But she will tell you herself, her greatest accomplishments and most important roles are being a supportive wife and proud mother of Valentina and Cruz. So, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I introduce you to Anna Poilievre.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Winnipeg. Thank you. What a pleasure to be here in Winnipeg. It's my first time. So happy to be here with all of you. Well, here we are, Canada, in a crucial time where Canadians must decide whether we're going to re-elect for a 4th time the same Liberal team who has weakened our economy, giving us unaffordable housing, rising crime, and left us vulnerable in the face of the threats of Donald Trump? Or are we going to elect a Conservative government who's going to put Canada first for a change? This journey began for my husband and our family about 3 years ago. My husband has been traveling from coast to coast to coast so that he can listen to Canadians directly. Because what we need is a government and a leader of the people, by the people. Leadership is not born from the boardroom of the elite. Leadership is born from true love for our country, our true north, strong and free. And while our adversaries, while Mr. Carney has spent the last decade outside of Canada, my husband has been right here at home fighting for our youth, our Canadian families, and our seniors. You know, Mr. Carney is seeking the highest office in this country. Then he's out to give the respect it deserves. He cannot look down on those who have been here fighting for Canadians being democratically elected. Yes, my husband has spent most of his adult life right here fighting for all of us, and that is an honorable thing. My husband has been listening to Canadians. He's been right here with all of us. He was the first one in the House of Commons going face to face with the Liberals and calling in that all of the spending was going to bring inflation and thus leaving all of us Canadians more poor. While my husband was going toe-to-toe against Mr. Carney in the Finance Committee, he was arrogantly looking down on us and saying that there will be no inflation. How did that fancy degree and title worked out for him? My husband was right. Now, I love all of my husband's policies. It is no doubt that the Liberals are trying to steal them from him. But if you want real conservative policies, you must elect a conservative government. But to truly understand these policies, we have to understand the why. Why are we doing this? Who is the man behind these policies? Who is the family behind these policies? My husband was born from a teenage mother who gave him out for adoption. He was born in Calgary and given for adoption to 2 school teachers. They worked really hard every day to make ends meet and put food on the table. That's how he was raised, in a humble house, working really hard for everything. Nothing was given to my husband. I was born in Caracas, Venezuela, and my family immigrated here in 1995 when I was 8 years old. My family immigrated in the east end of Montreal in a working class neighborhood, 6 of us living in a very small basement apartment. My father, he had to collect fruits and vegetables as his first job so that he can make ends meet. Later on, he had 3 very low-wage jobs to make ends meet. By the time that I was 17, I had left home and I was financially independent. By the time that I was 19, I moved from Montreal to Ottawa, and I took a student loan so I can put myself through university on my own. I worked full-time as well. By the time that I was 25, I was capable of saving enough money, $25,000, to put a down payment on a small town home with 2 bedrooms that cost $230,000. That was in 2012, 3 years before the Liberal government took office and left us with now unaffordable housing. That Canadian promise that I was able to live, that my parents were able to live, it's no longer true. And that is why we're fighting, so that our children and your future can come back and we can have the Canadian promise again. So ladies and gentlemen, my family is with all of you. We are united with all of you in this fight, and we need you all with us as well. And that's why it is my pleasure to share with you my husband and the next Prime Minister of Canada, Pierre Poilievre.
ready to put Canada first for a change? Who's ready to axe some taxes? Who's ready to bring home the country we knew and still love? Et Cruz aussi, vous voulez aider? Tu veux m'aider? Tu veux aider? C'est quoi ça? C'est un... T'es gêné? C'est quoi ça? He doesn't know what this thing is. He's scared of this thing. He's very succinct. He's a great patriot. My little Cruz wants... He veut le micro? Tu veux le micro? Okay, tu veux le micro. Okay, ça c'est dangereux. This is dangerous. We're giving him the microphone now. I think he's going to get addicted to it. He might end up as a politician. That would be very dangerous. Wow, great to be back in Winnipeg, here on the prairies. As a proud Alberta boy myself, as everyone in central Canada knows, you can see Winnipeg from Calgary because of our prairies. You can watch the dog run away for 3 days. Same joke here as it is in Alberta. But it is great to be back on the prairies to celebrate the great entrepreneurial spirit that we share and that we want to restore across the country. It's also great to be here with this incredible conservative team that's ready for change to put Canada first. Wow, great job on the song, Rachel. Common Sense Colin, quelle belle équipe, what an incredible group. We've got Marty Morantz, he was an inflation buster. I remember when Marty came to the Finance Committee for the first time, we were discussing this program. You know, they have all these acronyms in Ottawa, and he said, it's the ISIP program. And he said, what do you think of the ISIP program? And I said, I sip Crown Royal. What do you sip? The next day, he had a beautiful Manitoba bottle of Crown Royal on my desk. What a guy. What an incredible guy. And Raquel Dancho topped him up, though. She thought that I needed to be energized for this Canada First campaign, so she gave me a portable espresso machine. She goes on the road. So that is what's powering me through the campaign, along with all of you. We were at, what is it called, Cafe 22 today? Have you anybody been there? Well, we were making some pizza. Little Cruzy got Daddy a little bit distracted, and I almost dropped the pizza on the ground. But I think he got hired back. I didn't quite get the job. But we're very blessed to be here in beautiful Manitoba to celebrate our incredible country. And to talk about our common sense plan to restore Canada's promise. Very simple promise. It's better than the American dream. They have a dream, we have a promise. It's like a deal. You work hard, you get a great life. A beautiful house on a safe street, protected by brave troops, under a proud flag. That is the promise the country made me. That is the promise that this country made me when I was born to very modest means, and my parents told me that I could do anything I wanted if I worked at it. But after the lost Liberal decade, that promise, like everything else, is broken. Housing costs have doubled. Food prices have risen 37% faster in Canada than in the United States after a carbon tax on our farmers and truckers drove up the cost of every meal on our plate, driving 2 million people to the food bank every single month. A quarter of our population is now living in poverty. Our economy, in per capita terms, is actually smaller than it was a decade ago. We've had the worst economic growth of any G7 country, $500 billion. More investment has left Canada for the US than has returned after Liberals raised taxes on businesses and blocked our resource projects, waging an all-out war on the Western Canadian resource sector. Crime, chaos, drugs, and disorder now spill onto our once tranquil streets as repeat violent offenders are granted release almost within minutes of their most recent arrest, costing countless lives. And all of this has weakened our economy and our country, putting us under the American thumb. Now, the question is, after this lost Liberal decade of higher costs and crime and a falling economy under the American thumb, do the Liberals deserve a fourth term in power? Or is it time to put Canada first for a change with a Conservative government that will axe taxes, build homes, unleash our resources so that we can bring home our jobs and confront the Americans in a position of strength? That is the choice that we're facing. Thank you very much. And we're going to cut his taxes too. Love you too, buddy. We'll cut his taxes too. Après la décennie perdue des libéraux, le choix, c'est est-ce que, après la faiblesse que les libéraux ont creusée, les taxes qu'ils ont augmentées, la criminalité dans nos rues et la dépendance qu'ils ont créée sur les États-Unis, est-ce qu'il faut les élire une autre fois, une quatrième fois, ou est-ce qu'il nous faut mettre le Canada d'abord pour faire changement en élisant des conservateurs qui vont couper les taxes et impôts, produire nos ressources et ramener des jobs et la production ici au Canada? Well, the Liberals you have to give the Liberals credit for one thing. They've always got a trick up their sleeves. In order to get elected a fourth time after the lost Liberal decade, what they're doing is replacing Justin Trudeau with his economic advisor and hand-picked successor, Mark Carney. Mark Carney has been advising Trudeau on the economy over the last 5 years in favor of money printing that led to inflation. He had one disagreement in that he thought the carbon tax was not high enough and it needed to go even higher. In fact, Mr. Carney's been out of the country for most of his adult life. Since he got back, he's really only done two things: move his corporate headquarters out of Canada to New York 6 days after Trump threatened the tariffs, and advised Trudeau to hike taxes. We know now he's also got his corporate money stashed away in Bermuda tax havens, that he took a loan from the government of China banks that his company now owes, and that he continues to have investments in those same companies that he keeps hidden from all of you. Massive conflicts of interest that will see him favoring overseas tax havens, shipping production and jobs out of our country, and raising taxes here in Canada. My friends, Justin Trudeau was bad. Mark Carney is more costly. He is more radical, and he is the most conflicted and weak leader this country has ever had. It is time to put Canada first for a change. And that is what Conservatives are going to do. We're going to start with a bring-it-home economic plan. See, for the last decade, they've been pushing money and jobs out of the country. I want to bring it back and put it in your pocket. That's our purpose. So the Bring It Home plan starts with a big, bold tax cut to reward work, investment, home building, and energy making. Let's start with work. Income taxes are the fine you pay for the crime of working hard. Our workers tell me right across the country, they go out, they put in extra hours, but the harder the work, the more they pay, and the worse off they feel. I was over at the grain handling terminal in Thunder Bay a while back, and the manager said the workers were all mad at him. I said, why? He said, well, I gave them all a bonus. I said, well, that wouldn't make me mad. He said, well, they got the bonus, and then they looked at their pay stub and saw it was chewed up by income tax. So they were all in my office saying, where'd my bonus go? Well, the answer is it went to the government. We spend more money on taxes than on food, clothing, and shelter combined in Canada today. That punishing work means people have less incentive to go out and contribute more, take that extra shift, get that extra bonus, or get a promotion for their hard work. That has to change. We need to end the war on work and reward the people who are out of at the crack of dawn to build our country. And that is why a new Conservative government will bring change with a 15% income tax cut for the average worker. And speaking of bringing it home, we want to encourage all Canadians to invest in this country. After more and more of our money has left and our pension funds put the majority of their investments abroad where they can get a better return, we need to bring back the many billions of dollars that Canadians put aside for their savings. As you know, the previous Conservative government, with the help of the great James Bazan and Candice Bergen and countless others, brought in something called the tax-free savings account. You like that? Anybody got one of those? As you know, you can put aside $7 grand a year and grow it tax-free. That's not going to change under our plan, but what will change is that we will allow you to put an additional $5,000 into your tax-free savings account. There's only one catch. That extra $5,000 has to be invested in Canadian companies. So these companies can then use the investment that Canadians saving for their retirement put forward to buy new machines, build new factories, dig new mines, hire new workers, grow back in this country. That's why we call it the Canada First tax-free savings accounts. And then we're going to axe the carbon tax. So, all of it. That's right. So, in about 2 days, the Liberals are going to pull a fast one. So, after they imposed and increased the carbon tax for 7 years, they're going to hide. I think she wants to axe the tax as well. What do you think? Axe the tax. Axe the tax. So here's the trick. In a couple of days, the Liberals will hide the carbon tax at the gas pump. Now, the tax will not be eliminated. In fact, it is still the law of the land. The law that authorizes the government to impose this tax is still in place as we speak. Mr. Carney could have recalled Parliament to repeal that law if he was very serious about getting rid of the tax. He left himself the legal power to reinstate the carbon tax without any need to even pass another law. But he's asking you to forget about it until after the election, when he no longer needs your vote, but still needs your money. Is anyone going to buy that? Furthermore, he says he wants a bigger industrial carbon tax on our steel, our concrete, aluminum. He said, don't worry, Canadians don't use steel. Well, unless you don't drive a car or live in an apartment or you go into a building and you don't want the roof to fall in. Our little girl Valentina is very excited about that point. And so they're expecting you to believe that it is a big tax increase that no one will have to pay. When in reality, we know that you'll be the one to pay. Valentina gets a little bit overdosed on patriotism sometimes. There's a lot of... Valentina is a very special girl. She gets a little overloaded by all the lights and the sounds, and she has a powerful sensory condition, and we love her very much. She's a very special girl, and she really completes our family. But as I was saying, we know that this is one area where Trump and Carney agree. Both of them want to tax Canadian industry. Trump with tariffs, Carney with carbon taxes. We're not going to let it happen, though. A Conservative government will axe the tax for everything, for everyone, for good, for real, for a change. And we will axe the inflation tax. We know what that is. The inflation tax is the most immoral tax of all. Here's how it works. When governments want to spend money that they don't have, and they've run out of people to lend it to them, then what they do is print money. They create more cash. And then they can spend that cash, and nobody knows where it came from. Now, it sounds like a wonderful, consequence-free experience, except that by increasing the money supply, as Marty had to explain to the Liberals in the Finance Committee, you have more dollars chasing fewer goods, which ultimately bids up the price of everything. If you have an economy with, say, 10 apples and $10, it's $1 an apple. If you double the money to 20, but you still only have 10 apples, well, you're not twice as rich. It's just that now each apple costs twice as much. Now, this is very good for the extremely wealthy because they have their money in assets that go up with or even faster than inflation. Inflation actually makes them richer. But it's terrible news for the senior living on a pension or for the single mom living on her wages. It's a massive transfer of wealth from the have-nots to the have-yachts. Furthermore, we have to recognize that this money printing, like taxes and deficits, are only the symptoms. The real disease is massive overspending. We have to stop spending money we don't have on things we don't need. And that is why my government will cut bureaucracy, consultants, handouts to corporate insiders that ship jobs abroad. We will cut back on foreign aid to bring our money back home to Canada. And we'll bring in a dollar-for-dollar law that requires we find $1 of savings for every new dollar spending, the way seniors, single moms, and small businesses make trade-offs or get bargains so that they always come in under budget. This will force discipline so that politicians and bureaucrats must do what every other creature in the universe does: maximize use of scarce resources, get more value for money. You've been pinching your pennies long enough. It's time for government to start pinching pennies too. And we want you to have a home to come in, to bring that paycheck to. Of course, housing costs have doubled after the lost Liberal decade. What I'm going to do is tackle the underlying problem. It's not that we don't have the land, labor, or lumber. It's that government is driving up the cost of housing by blocking permits and taxing construction. We will lead the way. As Canada First Conservatives, we will axe the sales tax on new homes to save you up to $65,000. We will incentivize our municipalities to speed up permits, free up land, and cut development charges to build, 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 so that our young people can once again start families and build their communities, build up equity for the future. That was the Canadian promise. After the lost Liberal decade, it is gone. If you give the Liberals a fourth term, they will only drive costs and crime up further. That's why we need to put Canada first for a change with a new Conservative government. And we need to bring home production and paychecks to this country. It starts with eliminating the anti-energy, anti-resource agenda of the Liberal government. We will repeal the No New Pipelines Liberal Law C-69. We'll get approvals down to 6 months and 1 year at a most. We'll have a one-and-done policy. One project means one review, not 17 reviews. We will seek to get mines approved in under a year rather than in 17 years, which is what it takes right now. We will also create something called shovel-ready zones. So instead of businesses having to fill out long application forms, go back and forth with lawyers, accountants, lobbyists for 7 or 8 years while billions of dollars is tied up, causing many just to throw up their hands and invest somewhere else, we will pre-approve zones within Canada that are automatically permitted for pipelines, mines, data centers, power stations, hydroelectric dams. We have the resources the world needs. We should be the richest country in the world. Bring it home. We will bring it home. There's so much that we could be doing. We have the biggest supply of uranium, the biggest supply as well of potash for farming. We have 4 oceanic coasts, or leading to oceanic coasts, if you consider the Great Lakes, St. Lawrence taking us out to the Atlantic. We have the 3rd biggest supply of oil in the world, the 5th biggest supply of natural gas. We have an electricity surplus. Look at the prodigious dams we have here that could power these data centers. The big tech companies in the States, they're actually building their own nuclear plants. They need so much electricity. We could have that here. Do you know that doing an artificial intelligence query on ChatGPT requires 10 times as much electricity as a Google search? Artificial intelligence. It's something we have in the government as well. Just a different type. By unlocking these projects, we can bring home the production to our country, generating $200,000 and $300,000 a year jobs for our brilliant tradespeople, more money for local businesses and restaurants to serve the industrial growth all around them, money for hospitals and schools will overflow, and we take advantage of all the blessings that God gave this country. And we will create a shovel-ready zone to and right up to the Port of Churchill. We should be shipping all manner of resources through that northern outlet, an Arctic gateway that will enrich all of Manitoba and serve all of Canada. These are the kinds of ambitious things that are going to require incredible workers. And that is why we're going to back the trades. I call our plan boots, not suits. Boots, not suits. We need to back the trades. Do we have any trades workers in here? Yes, absolutely. The people who build stuff, move stuff, fix stuff, make stuff, they're the ones we need more than ever. Too much of the tax dollars, though, are directed away from the trades. It's been frowned upon wrongly by elites who turn up their nose at our most skillful and needed workers. That will no longer be the case when I'm Prime Minister. We will reinstate the $4,000 apprenticeship grant for our young apprentices. And we will partner with our unions and other training halls to create enough facilities to train 350,000 young apprentices and future trade workers. Absolutely. Boots, not suits. What's more, just yesterday I announced that we're going to end the unfairness in our tax system. Right now, a CEO can write off the full cost of his private jet, and yet a tradesman can only write up a total of $4,000 for the entire year for travel across the country. So if you're going from Timmins to Fort Mac 20 times a year, you get to write off $4,000. Who can possibly do that? The principle of our tax system is you're supposed to be allowed to write off the cost of earning your income. And when you're a traveling trades worker, that includes travel. So under my future Canada First government, we will allow trades workers to write off the full cost of their food, transportation, and accommodation to get from job to job. And we need to unlock the potential of our many currently unlicensed doctors and nurses. We have 32,000 immigrant nurses and 20,000 immigrant doctors who cannot work in their profession simply because there is no path to prove their qualifications. When I got my eye surgery done, there's a technician who actually works as an eye surgeon in Dubai. He commutes to Abu Dhabi and does surgeries there, but in Canada we only allow him to be a technician. Then I found out there were 4 others like him in the same clinic. So apparently operating on Emirati eyeballs are different than operating on Canadian eyeballs. You know, 85% of Filipino nurses are not allowed to work in Canada, even though in the United States they can take a test within a couple of weeks up to an international standard and get working. In Toronto, they say if you have a heart attack, don't call 911. Call an Uber because the driver is probably a doctor. Crazy, eh? So what's the solution? We know the solution. We did it back in 1952. We started something that's still here today. It's called the Red Seal. It's a certification for the trades. Why don't we create a national Blue Seal for the professions? So the amazing Filipino nurses in Manitoba can get working in our hospitals. We have some Filipino nurses here. There's one. Amazing. Great patriotic people. They'll meet our standard. We'll get the bureaucracy out of the way and get people the health care they need and the paychecks that will make us all richer. We want them to bring those paychecks home to safe neighborhoods, though. So we have to stop the crime. Just a few moments before I came on this stage, I met with Michelle and Ron. Their daughter, Kelly, was heading to work one morning when she was hit by a drunk driver. He was out on bail for the 4th time, driving a stolen car. And after the accident, he felt no remorse. He climbed out of his vehicle, went over to a gas station, and got himself a taxi. After taking this precious life, a family is shattered, friends are heartbroken, a community will never be the same. But what is so heartbreaking about these stories is how easily they can be prevented. The good news is we don't have a lot of criminals in Canada. The bad news is they are very, very productive. There is a small group of extremely prolific offenders who offend again and again and again. The story is the same in every part of the country. The most Eye-popping example, though, comes from the Vancouver police, who had to arrest the same 40 offenders 6,000 times. Each offender was arrested, on average, once every 2 days for an entire year. That means that they are literally doing nothing but crime. If you had those 40 offenders in prison instead of on the streets, you'd have 6,000 fewer people hit over the head with a baseball bat, stabbed, robbed, or otherwise violated. Why is this happening? Because of the liberal catch and release, hug-a-thug laws, C-75, that allows offenders to get requires the accused to get, and I quote, released at the earliest opportunity under, quote, the least onerous conditions. That's right in the law. And then you have C5, the house arrest law, which allows the most prolific offenders who have been convicted to do the sentence in the comfort of their living room. You know, imagine a car thief. He's stolen 100 cars. He gets house arrest. He gets to sit around watching Netflix or playing Grand Theft Auto. And then you have C-83, which allows the most prolific mass murderers to move out of a maximum security penitentiary into a medium security, where they have sporting activities and cooking their own meals and walking around enjoying more freedom than some of our seniors can afford to give themselves. My friends, by electing the Liberals to a 4th term after they drove up crime, it will only get worse. It's time for a change, to elect a new Conservative government who will put law-abiding Canadians first. We will repeal those 3 Liberal laws, C-75, C-5, and C-83. We will pass a new law that says that any repeat offender newly arrested will be ineligible for bail, parole, probation, or house arrest. It will be jail, not bail. We will bring in life sentences for the very worst offenses, and we will make them mandatory. That moves now to the issue of drugs. Drugs are, in particular opioids, have been ravaging communities across the country throughout the lost Liberal decade. Decriminalizing, refusing to prosecute possession, and even giving out taxpayer-funded opioids has caused the crisis to metastasize, and to the point where we lost 50,000 people over the last decade, more than died fighting for Canada in the Second World War. The rampant dealers who get caught are again released. Our borders are porous. 99% of shipping containers do not even have inspection. It's time for a change, my friends, to stop the drug crisis and to save our loved ones. And so common sense Conservatives will take real action. First of all, we will bring in mandatory life sentences for traffickers and producers of fentanyl. Secondly, we will defund the distribution of opioids. This is not a safe supply. It is making the problem worse. And instead, we will take inspiration from the Oak Centre right here in Winnipeg. We will invest in treatment and recovery, as they do at the Oak Centre, where young people will be given counseling, detox, group therapy, physical exercise, yoga, sweat lodges for First Nations, job placement, transitional housing. We will lift them up. We will tell them that there is always chance to turn their lives around. And so my message today, anyone who's suffering, hang on, have hope. Help is on the way. Help is on the way. And so is hope. Thank you. Thank you. We're going to turn it around, and we're going to lock down our borders against crime and drugs. We're going to hire 2,000 more frontline CBSA officers. We'll have more scanners that can look right inside those shipping containers, so that if the manifest says that there are widgets in the container, but the scanner shows it's a beamer, then you go get the beamer, you call the guy in the VIN, and you say, were you planning to send your beamer off to Turkey today? And he'll say, no, I was going to drive it to work, but it was missing from my driveway. Well, we've got it at the Port of Montreal. We give it back to you. And then you go to the guy who booked the shipping container and say, you're under arrest, right? Pretty straightforward. And we will pay for it by canceling the multi-billion-dollar gun grab that targets law-abiding citizens. By definition, someone with a possession and acquisition license is not someone who's on a mission to rob a bank. Because if you're going to go do a crime with a gun, you don't stop to get a license and a background checked on the way. People with a PAL or an RPAL are the least likely people to commit offenses. Many of them are, you actually meet those who participate in these tournaments. They're like lawyers, they're doctors, they're brainies. Many of them are even nerdy. You know, they're very precise people who love the practice, and they're not out to hurt anybody. The people who are doing crime are actually all getting their guns over the border illegally. And furthermore, are hunters. It's not Grandpa Joe's hunting rifle that's shooting up downtown Winnipeg and Toronto. It's the illegal guns. Liberals want to protect turkeys from hunters. Conservatives want to protect Canadians from criminals. Putting Canada first requires we have a strong military to keep the true north strong and free. Working with our incredible Shadow Minister of Defense, just as we work with Raquel Dancho to put together that crime, drugs, and gun package, we work with our great Shadow Minister of Defense to put together our defense plans. More and more of those will be rolling out in the days ahead. But let's be clear, we're going to cut back on the money that's going in foreign aid to dictators, terrorists, and global bureaucracies and put it into the military. We're going to fill the vacancies in the military by recruiting the next generation of brilliant soldiers, sailors, and airmen. We'll buy 4 massive icebreakers that will go up and bust up the ice and take back control of our Arctic waters from the Russians and Chinese. We'll speed up the purchase of fighter jets, Poseidons, and other key aircraft that will allow us to have dominance, particularly over our Arctic. We will also double the size of the first patrol of the Arctic Rangers, our eyes and ears on the ground, and we will establish the first post-Cold War Arctic Canadian base, CFB Iqaluit. We'll expand our cadet corps to get more of our young people active in service, learning the mentorship offered by our soldiers and our rangers, and getting skills on outdoorsmanship, survivalism, discipline, and much more. We will also, our military, by the way, will be guided by a warrior culture, not a woke culture. will bring home the best immigration system the world has ever seen. We had a great we had the world's most admired immigration system before the lost Liberal decade. We brought in great people who could fill vacant jobs. They quickly established, if they needed, they learned English or French. They got homes and jobs, and they became part of the Canadian family. Stories like my wife's story, and so many more that have been coming for centuries to this land. We've been very blessed by that. But over the last decade of Liberals, we've seen them push the Century Initiative, a radical scheme that seeks to expand our population to 100 million people. This is designed to profit corporate elites who deliberately bring in people from poor countries in large enough numbers to drive wages down for everyone else. These newcomers themselves are actually great people. They want to work hard, but they're being taken advantage of by this corporate elite, including Mark Wiseman, who's the founder of this Century Initiative and now one of the top advisors to Mark Carney. My friends, we will end the Century Initiative, we will end the abuse and fraud in the system, and we will bring in only the number of people that allows us to expand our housing stock and our job market faster than our population. And we will once again celebrate our proud history in Canada. No more tearing down monuments, no more erasing. No more erasing our proud history. We will tell our stories, sing our songs, and wave our flag. We will put Terry Fox, the Canadian troops, the famous five, all back into the great Canadian passport. We will put Canada first, absolutely. After the lost Liberal decade of erasing our history and apologizing for everything Canadian, taking down our flag and expressing shame for our past. The Liberals do not deserve a fourth term weakening our country. What we need is a new Conservative government to put Canada first. We will be a nation that harvests its resources, trades with each other, protects its vulnerable, secures its border, upholds its law, raises its flag, rearms its military, and restores its freedom. We will not be a nation of tax collectors and toll masters, of bureaucrats and busybodies, of gatekeepers and grandees, rulers and rule makers. No, we are a nation of explorers and entrepreneurs, artists and adventurers, workers and warriors, pioneers and patriots, united by the Canadian promise, which should instill hope to everyone suffering out there today, to the single mother going to bed hungry tonight, wondering how she will feed her kids in the morning. Hope is on the way. To the young couple, age 35, up against the biological clock, worried you'll never be able to afford a home, change is on the way. To the suffering veteran who's choosing between eating and heating, we thank you and we say both hope and change are on the way for you too. Because we will bring home the great Canadian promise that anyone from anywhere can achieve anything, where hard work gets you a great life, in a beautiful house, on a safe street, protected by brave troops under our proud flag. Canada first, let's bring it home!